Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is late evening in India, and all of you who are from the other parts of the world, it must be a bright day. I understood that London is a little cloudy, but nevertheless, what we heard from London was extremely bright. So I hope to moderate this session to bring in some more brightness into this time where we are all, trying to figure out how to come out of this crisis. So I have with me Suraj Chettri. Suraj, you're there?
Very much there. Thank you very much.
Suraj is the head of HR at AirBus India. And then we have Pawan Shetty, who's the head of HR at Visa in Bangalore. And then I have Thiru, who's the head of HR at Global Business Services at IBM. Thiru and Pawan, are you both there?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Great to see you.
Hey, Partho. Thank you.
Partho, I'll just read out the introduction of.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce them? Or,
You go ahead, Shiva. Go ahead.
Great. Great to have you with us, Pawan. Pawan heads APAC head HR of Visa. Pawan is associated to Visa, India's vice president and head of HR technology. He possesses over 1 year of experience in HRD world. Before Visa, he was associated with AirAsia Group. I think there is some mistake out here. Pawan comes with 2 decades of experience. Overall, good to have you with us, Pawan. And to talk about Suraj, Suraj is a thought leader in HR, has worked in multiple top multinational companies. Currently, he heads India AirBus, manages big portfolio and very big team out here. And currently he handles HR functions of India operations. He specializes in handling multiple dimensions of HR. Happy to have you with us, Suraj.
Thank you, Shiva.
So we have Thiru. Thiru, who comes with 23 years of experience in HR, hospitality, and client services. Today, he has a global. He is a leader, practitioner, and leader in global business services, delivering HR solutions, cultural transformation, and talent strategies for one of the most innovative workplaces in the world, IBM. He worked in multiple countries across the varied roles: India, USA, UAE, leading HR professionals and business engagements across the Middle East and Africa as well. Good to have you, Thiru, with us.
Good to be there. Thanks.
So with this, I hand over control to Partho. Partho, to talk about Partho, Partho is a co-founder of GWFM, Global Workforce Management Chartered Body, registered in the US and Canada. Partho comes with more than 3 decades of experience in staffing and varied experience. Probably Partho can talk about himself for a while and then take this panel discussion forward.
Yeah.
Over to you, Partho.
Thank you so much, Shiva. So my journey into the world of human resources has predominantly been as a service provider. So I ran a staffing company for a good number of years, and then shifted into education for a short while. And currently, me and Shiva run the Global Workforce Management Forum. So it's a definite privilege for me to be moderating this session with such eminent people who have done a great amount of work in their respective organizations in implementing the people analytics projects. So before I I would like to set a little bit of a context in the sense that organizations before embarking on a true analytical journey have assessed data, consistent metrics they agreed to, and privacy safeguards they implemented. Well, data is usually never perfect. We have continuously striven to obtain the highest possible level of data integrity. And when there are data gaps, then the analytics practitioner must understand the data opportunities and take into account in any analytical exercise. Today, we have three people from leading organizations here. I would start with a question that I thought would be pertinent to ask them is how adoption of people analytics has been in their respective organizations. So should I start with Suraj? Suraj, you'd like to comment on this?
Yeah, happy to go first. Hi, everyone. Suraj. Other than HR, what I like is technology. And what's kept me for 10 years at Airbus is that I'm also the chair for the Airbus India Biz Lab that we've been running for the past 4 years. And that's kind of a business accelerator that incubates various projects on technology. And it's housed out of Bangalore. And, it's interacting with these folks in India, understanding what's going out in the whole world. That keeps me hanging and keeps me excited. Actually, I was not surprised for where we are today as far as technology is concerned, because I've always been an avid reader and a movie watcher. Once what was confined to the pages of futuristic fiction and the movies, the field of analytics today promises to be most profoundly disruptive, and it's a technological shift since the first industrial revolution or the three ones that we will have even after that. And to add to this excitement, I get to participate in a lot of cool stuff that goes on internally within the Human Resource Innovation Lab that we have at Airbus. Yes, you've heard it right. We also have an HR Innovation Lab. Now, going into the heart of the subject, transformation and Airbus. The HR technology has streamlined a lot of HR processes, especially, you can think about the traditional ones. Technology and innovation are disrupting the way HR functions. There is no doubt about that at all. And I strongly believe that every organization will have to go through some level of transformation, but we need to understand that we in HR work in a very closely networked and linked ecosystem. Now, what I mean by that is if anything changes in HR or the ecosystem, it will have an impact on the whole organization. And that is why Partho did address this slightly at the start. We need to have what we call, in my parlance, an HR technology roadmap, which is essential. That shows the business processes to be supported, the objectives to be met, the tech that is needed, implementation and maintenance programs, and the resources and the funding that is required for that. The journey for every organization in its HR systems and drives towards the HR tech has to be personal and unique. You can't, sorry for saying this, but you can't just cut and paste what I tell you worked in Airbus, probably it may not work elsewhere. And for us at Airbus, we call this the My Pulse journey, because it is at the heart of the whole technology drive that we've got. Now, let me take a step back and talk about our desire as social beings is to make our private lives public. And that has dumped a lot of information on social media. That with different web crawlers and a solid algorithm, good mining tools, and an application integrator at the back end, and data visualization tool in the front end, something like Tableau, and voila, you've got good, sensible data that is achieved. So these are the things that we've also used within Airbus. And I can give you a few examples like our in-house talent sourcing maps. We call it the sourcing maps because we use it to the best advantage for targeted recruitment. So much so that based upon the data that we have today, we have mapped various organization structures, various employees, experiences, social preferences, friends and colleagues at Airbus, what are they following, what are they not following. And this provides us a lot of data about people even before we call them. We put them on a watch list, and even before we call them for an interview, we have this data that is available for us. Not even that, we also follow the talent at Airbus. What I mean is we have a way to get in touch with every student that we do not hire during the campus hiring season. And many of them have converted into future hires for us, thanks to what I talked about earlier about tech and data tracking abilities. Another thing that we are very proud of is basically the employer branding. Now, this is another area where we use a lot of AI and ML and data mining, because we track a lot of followers. We also look at what our articles fetch us. We also look at net promoter scores. We look at impressions. We look at footfalls, content, specifically targeting thereby our efforts on our goals or our focus group of who we want to look at. Now, if I say we don't use it for recruitment, I would be lying. So yes, we do have recruitment digital tools. Entello is one of them, the AI powered sourcing tool. By applying the power of artificial intelligence and PA, we can identify who is the best fit for a particular role. And most importantly, how much is their interest, and directly based upon these two parameters, we can deliver directly these hires into your email or inbox. The other software that we use is HireView, which actually reduces time for us, helps us in better decision makings. It's basically a proprietary voice recognition software and a licensed facial recognition software, which work in tandem with a ranking algorithm. So we put in a set of key parameters, a person, he takes the interview, who is an ideal person, and then we map it against the others that we interview, and again, helps us out in the speed and the agility with which we can hire. Arctic Shores is one of those data-driven people insights that also gives us a lot of meaning, job-relevant insights with the next generation of psychometric tools powered by neuroscience. So in a nutshell, Partho, that is what we do as far as technology is concerned and in the area of talent management. So back to you, Partho.
Thank you so much, Suraj. It's in a short while, you've given us wonderful coverage of what you do at AirBus. Thiru, you would like to take it next, and you'd like to explain what you do at IBM?
Will do. No, thanks, Partho. So when you talk about adoption of technology and AI, now in the last 5 years, we've seen huge shifts in technology, intelligent data platforms with microservices and APIs integrating into so many applications, deep neural networks churning out insight. And as a result, our ways of work has evolved dramatically. Now, I have to say, at least in IBM, HR has been in the middle of this transformation in how we have transformed as a company as well in IBM. Now, we will all also be able to relate to this urgent need to respond to radical changes in our workforce today. The business dynamics mostly amplified by this virtual era because of the pandemic we are living in, and where everyone's working remote, not able to see each other for months altogether. People, managers, teams distributed completely across multiple cities, towns, and villages. And more importantly so, this whole future of HR tech, deep people analytics has to be powered by AI on the cloud and on mobile, and is already here. Right now, this is now an essential to have for us. It's no more a nice to have, and has been the way, not just for business continuity, but the way we service our clients. All companies here will be in a different stages of their maturity in the HR transformation journey. For some, it might be a cost play. For a few, it could be about simplification. For many, it might be about elevating employee experience and adding value to their businesses. And in some, it could be even changing the culture of the organization. So from my experiences in IBM, I have to say, it started off with three main things. How can we bring in an employee-focused experience in everything HR? How can we shift HR to higher value work? This is about HR professionals in the organization. How can we shift to higher value work, limiting administrative tasks? And then how can we standardize processes globally? So we had 107 people in 170 countries, and over 300,000 people. Before we started on this journey, 80% of our HR professionals were focused on administrative work. I'm going to say 15% client services, consulting with the business, and maybe 5% strategic planning. But post this transformation, using, again, analytics and deep tech, that 80% reduced to 10% of our workforce who continue to do admin work, basic HR services. 60% moved to that client services, engaging with our managers and our people. And then 30% shifted to engaging in strategic work for the business. So not only was there a huge gain in productivity, and this is data, and we've actually elevated the careers of HR professionals in IBM. Our clients love it, and a significant give back. So if you invest, let's say, $1 million in analytics or in tech, we give back to the business 10x that value in terms of either cost or actually, value at the end of the day. So for us, the entire life cycle of the employee, right from talent acquisition all the way through their journey from onboarding to HR services to development to, their mobility, the cognitive pay recommendations, even predictive leadership. Who are your great leaders of the future? We've embedded deep inside analytics and technology, and that needed an overhaul. This whole, I'm going to say, the new HR, if I can call it, had to shift from the old, where it was process centric, and that needed to become experience centric. The impact of this transformation, activity focus to outcome focus, this intuitive decision making to science and data driven decision making, from reporting the news to delivering actionable insight, if I can put it that way, re-engineering processes to design thinking. from having an attitude of doing more with less to how can we disrupt the everyday work that we do to something exponential. And then all of this had to move from generic employee support to personalized and real-time assistance for our IBMers. Yeah, and for us to execute all of this, in addition to the tech and the analytic, we needed new kinds of skills in HR. So now we have data scientists, we have architects offering managers in HR, and we have designers, user experience experts, all of this in HR, in addition to some of the innovation work that Suraj also talked about. I can speak about a few examples, and not just in talent acquisition. Like for an example, in India, if you open a rec, you'll have at least 2,000 people applying, but your best candidate will be candidate number 1,245. There's no way your recruiter is going to be able to pick that profile, or your manager spending time. So clearly, all your AI and ML and being in a tech company and having that gene, we actually leverage IBM Watson in a lot of HR and talent related matters, actually. Now, we've been very seriously experimenting, piloting, and pushing the limit of how we can use AI in people decisions. And I have to say, I have to take so many examples, right from determining skills inference, proficiency of the expertise, driving performance management, promotions and pay determination, career coaching, futuristic learning. All of this is actually personalized and curated, and even determining an employee's propensity to reskill or propensity to learn using deep behavioral inference engines. And the IT industry today, as you know, is quite mature in India. And we have practitioners who are now 15 years tenured, and you have to become version 2021 versus, an employee being version 2005. So at the end of the day, we don't want to be in a position where you let go and hire from the market, but we use a lot of analytics to reskill our workforce for the future. And that's a great use case that we've been able to deliver today. And all of this eventually has to be human-centric. I also want to say, close by saying, the last best experience that any one of you have anywhere becomes the minimum expectation for the experience that you all want for the future. Now, all of that experience is only made possible when you have deep analytics and innovation in HR technology. So I think we've been able to adopt a significant amount of change, tech, and a data-driven approach to the way we make decisions. Partho, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you so much, Thiru. That's awesome. Awesome. Pawan, now let's hear it from you. You've done a great job at AirAsia with the implementation of Workday, as you were mentioning, So we'd like to hear about your experience there. Pawan, you are on mute. You'll have to unmute.
Yes, sorry, got it. The first question we asked now is that, can you hear me? And thanks for checking on that. So excited to connect with all of you guys. Suraj, interesting insights. Thiru, interesting insights. I'll definitely catch you, Suraj, to know more about your HR Innovation Lab. Right, that's really sounding interesting. So I'll try and keep it as short and try and see if I can share my thoughts on how adoption and how organization evolves, how organization reacts to these kind of path-breaking technology solutions for people analytics. So first thing, as Thiru, you were mentioning, IBM is in the midst of evolution. I think every organization is in the midst of evolution, and I don't think so that status would change in the near future as well, because constantly the options available for a specific problem statement or a specific need is evolving and changing. So in the same way, the organizations continue to evolve and change. I will probably park the workday aspects and touch on it a little later, but the core of adoption, if I had to focus on that question, the core still remains the specific problem on need-based, right? That's the core. But what has helped me in the past in terms of having a stronger adoption and a stronger engagement with these new cutting edge tools is in fact engaging with the users, in this case employees, or in this case within the HR team, and focus on their experience rather than the process, right? So the more I involve the user at an early stage, right from a need assessment stage and options assessment stage, the adoption has been that much more stronger and implementation has been that much more smoother. So that's probably one of the mantras which I can share, which has helped me in the past. What is also necessary, I think briefly a couple of my colleagues did mention, is a need for it to be customized and tailored. It cannot be one size fits all. I know it's a very a very old saying, but that's the fact that it remains fully relevant. It has to be extensively customized. And that's where what I'm looking forward for technology organizations like Workday or SuccessFactors or every other player there to help us bring in a more stronger sense of customization as compared to, hey, this is how it is designed and we have to build a process or build our experience around that. These are the two broad messages or broad sense of understanding I have when we talk about adoption of people analytics in any organization. Largely, of course, my experience in talking about in Asia. I recently joined Visa. The genuine thing is, again, I'm reiterating that we are constantly evolving in every employee touch point cycle, you can call it, where there are very interesting and innovative solutions. So it comes back to the basic, again, problem statement and need-based solutioning, involving the end user at all stages to have a stronger adoption. And the second point is customized and tailored approach for each of these. That's my overview and thoughts on this question, Partho.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pawan. This actually brings me to another question that I would like to put out to the panel, which is how people analytics has shaped the culture of your organization. The focus on people analytics.
Yeah.
How is it that been adopted by people at large? You know, response of the employees to the entire people analytics.
Okay. Yeah. Let me take that first and probably I'll let others add on to it. I'm trying to rephrase the question you asked. So you're primarily saying that how people analytics or tools which helps us in people analytics shape the culture of the organization, right? That's a very good question. In fact, that's again very well tied up to the previous question. Is there anyone in this group? We have around 50 of people participants. Can you all show hands who think that people analytics has direct influence in the culture of the organization? Right? I know it's a virtual session, guys. We have to try and make it as interactive as possible. So can we have a show of hands as to how many of them really feel that people analytics can really change or shape the culture of the organization, right? I don't think so anyone would disagree broadly. Let me try and give an example here rather than try and say, prove it right? Typically, historically, let's say, it was or it is the norm to define an engagement model largely based on our typical annual employee engagement survey. How relevant do you think it is now? Is it timely? And how quick do you think we can respond to the survey, right? Does it really mean that we should not do annual surveys, right? So I'm just trying to use this as an anecdote to help understand as to how analytic tools can shape the culture of the organization. I'm not for saying that we shouldn't have them, we should continue to have them, and that can probably meet a different purpose. But if you look at it, we used in AirAsia, in my previous setup, where I spent quite a bit of time in multiple locations, we largely engaged with employees on a platform called Workplace, not Workday, Workplace. It was fairly instantaneous and multiple touch points and multiple pulse checks, which was spontaneous and which actually helped us drive our initiatives, drive our people culture agenda. And in fact, it was reverse engineered, and they literally drive the agenda and culture as compared to what we used to do earlier, which was pretty much like traditional annual survey model. So here is an example as to how a simple tool really literally changed the culture and shaped the culture of the organization across, and especially with a workforce which is very widespread and very diverse, and most of them are not confined to an office space, right? Yeah, that's a good example I can think of as to where I can support my point in terms of it definitely influences and shapes and changes the culture of the organization, right?
Yeah, so thanks, Pawan, for that. If I can add on, I raised my hand first because I've seen clearly how technology and again data become force multipliers when you want to change the culture of any organization. I can think of so many changes in our ways of work, particularly about empowering our managers for them to make their own decisions with transparency, with confidence, with data, and to have meaningful career conversations with employees. So that brings in a culture of feedback. Otherwise, they'll have to depend on a person who might be sitting far away for basic information. It slows down the process. It's not personalized. It's based on perception. And clearly, the ability to shift to agile ways of thinking and delivering straight, honest feedback is only enabled with, technology. Clearly, even instituting a culture of continuous learning. So the ability to send people nudges, either to the employee or to the managers to say, hey, we've noticed you've not been, accessing any of your learning programs recently. Send them a note. Or, hey, send a note to the people manager to say your employee is coming up, is an SMS message to say your employee is coming up 3 years in the same role. You might want to have a conversation so that there's a healthy career velocity and a rotation of folks in your team. Or someone's coming up 10 years in the organization. Do you want to bring in a group of people to celebrate? Now, it significantly uplifts the culture, and you're helping bring forward a lot of insight and recommendations to the managers so that they can lead their teams healthily and inspire some leadership, actually. And all of this we can curate into a beautiful dashboard that's on the cloud, on the mobile, and it's very, very personal. We have, again, various platforms in IBM, if I can say, that coaches, that brings in a very good career journey and a learning path where one can follow, get digital credentials, which then as a culture makes people wanting to learn more, become ambitious. And then eventually, of course, Pawan also talked about Workday, a huge shift from what it was to what it is across the world. And the cultural exchange across, you have managers from Austria leading people in Manila, or someone in India leading someone in Australia, fully seamless, and the ability to have a very diverse workforce. All that is purely enabled by technology and analytics and insight. So it's been a great experience for us.
Yeah, at Airbus, we have a similar, of course, we are also on Workday, like my two colleagues from IBM and Visa. Give you a couple of examples. If you would have asked me this question, say, 5 years ago, I would say, come on, how can technology ever help the culture of an organization? But probably today, if you ask me, I would say necessity is the mother of all inventions. And that raises the question, now, who's the father? Probably technology. What we do is, in the whole life cycle or the journey of an employee within the organization, there are various touch points. And like Pawan said, you can't wait for the end of the year survey to address something that probably does not exist at that point of time. It has to be instant and right there. So we use Qualtrics, which is, again, a software that helps us out at different stages with the candidate experience when they join, the acceptance rate, onboarding satisfaction, engagement in training, how do they increase the productivity after the training, even when they go on parental leave, what's their engagement when they come back, after a promotion, how do they behave, and to the very end of exit. Because what we are trying to do is we build a whole digital future for HR. And for that, we need to ensure that the acquisition of data, the tools, and the stuff that we gather together creates value. And then we use social sentimental data for framing of the policies, of the strategies, and the interventions that we need to do. A couple of things that we use also are something called Avalanche. Avalanche is not content from marketing or sales blog or data content, but it is content from real people, team stories, videos, employee experiences, sharing of testimonies, and the insight that we have got from the feedback by using Qualtrics has helped us even, reach out to people that normally wouldn't even open websites or look at Airbus stuff. The other thing that is really helping us out today, we are still in the new experimental phase with this, is social bakers. Now, social bakers would help us to engage and grow our digital footprint through content personalization, which is based upon actionable AI-powered audience insights, and it is purely on analytics and AI. So we get a lot of insights which are mostly from people, their feelings, their sentiment, the emotions that then we can use for the various actions and interventions that we can put all throughout the year. Back to you, Partho. That's a little that I could add from my side.
Thank you so much, Suraj. Now, this probably brings us to the end of the segment. And before we close, we're looking for questions. If there aren't any right now, I'll put one more question to the panelists and then probably close. So my question is very, very simple in the sense that, people analytics has matured. HR technology has matured. And taking a cue from Suraj, where he says that, technology has been the father, but still I'd like to pose the question again, that who led this entire, maturity process? Did people analytics mature because of the technology, or did technology respond to the maturity levels of people analytics?
Okay, let me take that first. Thank you, Partho. I think it's a combination of both. It's like a chicken and an egg story. But, let me tell you something. Earlier, if you remember, for folks like me who have gray and silver hair, or no hair. We had standalone systems. And then we went into talent management applications, and then into integrated talent management suites, and then into PMS or personal people management systems. And today, probably collaborative people systems. You know, I've been there, done it, and I know today technology implementation is no longer difficult, much smaller than the ERPs or the HRIS implementations that we've done. It's better designed. Our partners are matured and skilled at the implementation. It's easy to use, and it's very light on the pocket, and it's very cost effective. And with the flurry of innovation in the HR tech partners, they have created a lot of very useful tools. And that today we can use. Today, for once, I can say that we are poised at a revolutionary phase for HR tech development. And today we can say we can match the pace of business and adapt to the future needs. And this is only possible because today, the approach and the mindset that we have in HR and the business is ready to adapt and implement technology that fixes the broken parts of the HR process without disrupting or needless change, complicating things further. But the most important thing is we need to collaborate and decide what it is that we want. What is that we want to make, which is core to us, and what is what we want to buy, and build partnerships for the long run. Like I was saying yesterday to my panelists, don't reinvent the wheel. If there is someone who's got good technology, align with him and work together. Don't ditch him after the technology becomes obsolete. Because if you invest in the long run, that technology can be innovated further and will be very useful for the future. So a long answer to a short question, but I think it's a combination of both, Dada. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thiru, you responded to Shetty on this question that had come. Would you just, answer it for the audience?
Sure. So the question was about intrinsic bias and how does that translate when you leverage AI to make people decisions? How can a machine have that intelligence to decide for a human in, for example, someone of color or even facial recognition? That's really the question. Now, I believe clearly these were challenges and continue to be a challenge. But over the years, with so much of data and I'm going to say inferences that are being built in into this engine, it's only getting better. Now, being a tech company, I have to say we've been fortunate to have a lot of distinguished engineers and IBM fellows who actually research the subject. They actually define the standards for the industry and the world in terms of how you can leverage and identify intrinsic bias across various demographic groups, could be person of color, gender, religion, in whatever way. But this is, the more you feed in, the more you churn, the better the machine learns and the ability to calibrate and normalize decisions. Whatever you do, at the end of the day, the decision will be human made. I think the AI engine will clearly give you a recommendation with a certain degree of confidence, but it will never make, at least, any tech is a little bit flawed if that makes a decision for you. I think we have only evolved in the last few years, but it's nowhere near to perfect. It can always be argued both ways. So you'll have to use it carefully, thoughtfully, but you always have that human resource making that judgment at the end of the day. Partho, you're on mute.
Pawan, you would like to take this up?
Yeah, thanks, Partho, and thanks, guys. I think interesting point raised, right? It's a very interesting question. People analytics to HR technology or vice versa. I, for one, kind of feel that it's the technology and the kind of options evolving has driven us to be more hungry and ask for more solutions and ask for more uh, technology interventions to meet our desires and needs, which are unlimited as well. I think for one, I strongly believe that this has resulted in us being not satisfied in a good way. If I had to ask and pause for a minute and ask for show of hands again, how many of them feel happy and satisfied with the current options they have within the system for driving all their HR priorities? Probably most, they're probably happy in the direction which each of us are going, but probably not happy with what's already in place. That's why I mentioned that we're all in the stage of constantly evolving in this space, right? What it might also result in is an interesting space, right? It will result in probably stronger empowerment of people managers, and they would end up probably becoming HR managers, right? I would probably say all people managers will and should have to wear HR managers because the systems and tools and technology will help them prepare or be that, right? And of course, this will result in a splendid employee experience in which managers are also included. And that's the only way forward, I think. And to the second point, which Sally raised, it's a very interesting question, Sally. And Thiru, you kind of addressed it in a right way. We have to use technology to a large extent, no doubt about it, but at the end of the day, the decision maker is still human. And if that's the problem statement you have, that AI could have challenges in managing bias or AI bias, there could be a technology to solve that as well. That's all I would say. So, yeah, the more problem statements you have, the more innovative solutions we end up getting to address that needs. Yeah, I hope that it kind of shares some insight in terms of how we are thinking as colleagues. And of course, we're keen to hear more from the audience. If they have any more questions, we'll be happy to address them.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And, it's been a wonderful time for me to been able to moderate this discussion. And for me, it's been a great learning experience. I'm sure it's been the same for people who are listening in. And before we conclude, I thank Markets and Markets, the entire team for setting this up. And I'm deeply grateful to all three of you for, spending time with us and elaborating on what great work that you've done in your respective organizations. And before I close, I would also like to thank Shiva for, chairing this session. And over to you, Shiva. Thank you very much, everybody who's been listening in. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Partho, Thiru, Suraj, and Pawan. It's really been very good interactions and very good thought-provoking insights from each one of you. It's been a great learning as far as people analytics and like HR tech is concerned. If there are any questions from the audience, let's see. If you have, Garima, do we have any questions? I don't see any questions so far.
I don't think there was one which Thiru has already answered.
Okay.
So that's it from our side. Thanks a lot, everyone, for your time and support. It's the end of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks a lot, Shiva, for chairing the session. It's an extreme pleasure. Thanks a lot for your support.